welcome to another great episode of Mommyhood Unscripted. We so appreciate your time. We know you're busy, and we're so happy you found us and you're here. Well, we have Carrie Lupoli here with us today, and wait until you hear her story and her amazing message and mission for all of us. She is a certified nutritionist, an award-winning behavior specialist, and educator in schools around the world who's dedicated to empowering women through sustainable health solutions. After overcoming her own struggles with disordered eating, she founded Disruptive Nutrition and has gone on to helping women see their bodies as their best friends instead of their enemies. Oh, love that. Carrie is also the host of Diet Disruptors, which is an Apple Top 100 Health and Wellness podcast, which supports women through the science of blood sugar stabilization and behavior change. Most recently, Carrie was a TEDx speaker for challenging the status quo in health and wellness and shared what she has learned over the last decade on the weight loss industry. And now she joins us on Mommyhood Unscripted, and we couldn't be more excited.
Oh my gosh, that was a mouthful, but
well, that's just a testament to all of the amazing things that you've been doing and championing for so long.
Honestly, I was just so sick and tired of, like, as they say, being sick and tired. But
yeah,
when I really unleashed all that goes on behind the scenes of the diet industry and what I struggled with for so many years, it was like I just had to share it. I had to talk about it.
You wanted to get your story out there. You were motivated.
Yep.
So I want to, well, first of all, you just came back from Singapore, you said?
Yes, I have been on this crazy travel train. But yeah, I was in Singapore. We lived in Singapore for almost 7 years when my kids were little. My husband worked for Pratt & Whitney out of Connecticut. And they moved us all around the world for a little while. And they hadn't been back since they were really little. So we got to go back as a family, and it was really nice because my girls are almost 19 and 20 now.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we got to experience a different kind of family trip. Kids as adults.
Yeah, exactly. And getting back to the roots too, right? Where they were from for a while there. And really quick on a side note before we dive into this topic, what is it like to raise a family overseas?
Well, it was really interesting because when we moved overseas, we had one little girl who was 8 months old. And then when you live in Asia, you actually have this amazing privilege of being able to have help. So we had a woman, her name was Apple, and she helped us. And so I actually was like, what am I going to do? I was like, I got to do something.
Wow.
And so I was a behavior specialist. I was a special ed teacher and behavior specialist. And I realized there was no such thing as special ed in Asia or in Singapore. And it was these kids that were born with, disabilities or had reading, issues, learning issues. They weren't being serviced at all. So I had time because I had help and a baby. And anyway, I ended up starting the largest educational consulting firm in Southeast Asia to be able to support kids with special needs.
That's amazing, Carrie.
I just took the opportunity of living overseas and having this help to be able to help others. And then we adopted our second child while we were there.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. We have a whole adoption episode too on Mommyhood Unscripted if you want to find it. And that in itself is just an amazing, beautiful thing.
Well, when we went back to Singapore, we actually got to meet her birth mother.
Oh,
so it was crazy. It was crazy. It was amazing.
All right, I think we need another episode on that with you.
Whole other topic.
All right, so I want to talk first about family Friday night pizza. When your 5-year-old asked why mommy wasn't eating the pizza that everyone had at the table.
Yep.
Take
Family
us back
Friday
to that.
pizza night. My girls were 5 and 6 years old, and I didn't eat the pizza. I got salad with dressing on the side. But I always felt like I wasn't eating a different meal. We all ordered from the same pizza place.
Right.
And my 5-year-old asked my 6-year-old, why does mommy never eat the pizza? And my 6-year-old said, because it has too many calories. And right then and there, I knew that I was teaching them a belief and practices that I thought was a secret. My secret obsession about my body and food, my relationship with it, my belief that my value was literally a number in the scale. If I weighed a certain amount or looked a certain way, then I could be confident, then I could be happy. And it was like I was chasing this elusive number, and I felt like then I could actually live my life. And it was that moment where I just realized I have to rethink all of this because I know that I learned what I learned from my mom, and she learned it from her mom, and I was committed to changing my family tree. I I didn't know how.
Right.
But I knew something had to change.
Yeah, body shame is definitely inherent, right? Like it passes down the lines. And I'll never forget, you know, have you ever heard of the Marvelous Miss Maisel?
Yes.
There's a scene where she's at the workout class with all her friends and they're trying really hard and they're measuring their waist to be a certain number. And that's literally what society was putting on women and what they thought they had to uphold, right? Yep. This image. And yeah, like that's like generational trauma that's definitely going to trickle down to us.
But I think it's so much a part of our culture, but we don't even realize it. In fact, when we were in Asia and we got the story of Ellie and her adoption, and they actually had to offer her to local families before a foreign family. And turns out she was too dark-skinned for anybody to want to adopt her. And I just think about the fact that we are so consumed about the outside versus the inside. This little girl is one of the smartest humans on this earth, and I think what a shame that these families missed out, and what a blessing for us.
Right.
But it's just an example of how we look at ourselves from a point of view and judge others on a point of view that has nothing to do with who they are. It's just more of what they look like. And I realized that I was doing that. And, you know, I was a successful international educator. I was traveling all around the world, educating people on behaviors and discipline and raising kids. And yet I was in a hotel room and I would stand on a scale before I would go on a stage to speak. And it was that number that helped me decide whether or not I was going to be good or not that day.
And what happened if that number was not what you wanted?
It's like then I had to go down this whole rabbit hole of trying to boost myself up to get on the stage anyway. Like, what was the point? And it was about that time where when the girls talked about calories, where I really dug deep into our bodies, the physiology of it, because I thought a lot about the fact that, like, I don't eat these things, but yet I'm not losing weight. Like, I'm still going around this roller coaster. I'm still frustrated with my body. What am I doing wrong?
Right.
And that's when it got me down this whole really kind of cycle of what the diet industry has convinced us of: eat less, move more, counting calories, tracking all of your food in an app. And we're getting sicker and sicker, and we're not making progress. But the bottom line is we keep thinking progress is on the outside. Right. And I realized I was not healthy on the inside. And it wasn't until I started really digging into what do I want, why do I want it, and recognizing that health comes in every single aspect of our life. And it was when I started digging into all of the pieces, all of the layers of being the healthiest version of ourselves, I actually showed up for myself differently. I didn't go to the gym because I was mad at myself. I went to the gym because I knew I deserved to be strong, and that in order to live a long life where my kids didn't have to take care of me, then I was gonna actually show up differently. And it's so incredible how when you shift your thinking about why you're doing something, how it changes the way you show up, but also the results that you get.
Right, you're happy with the results too, on top of it.
Yeah,
it's like an added bonus.
Right, like I always say that the only number that we talk about when it comes to weight is the number we lift on this, on the bar, on the barbell, and working to get stronger. So it's been a real journey of self-discovery for me. But what's so incredible is that, gosh, my daughter Grace, when she was a senior in high school, it kind of came full circle where I realized she was the healthiest version of herself, and I had changed my family tree. Because about, I would say, 18 months earlier, an Amazon package came to my house, and I opened it up, and it was a tiara. And I was like, who ordered a tiara? And my daughter Grace, who was 16 at the time, comes running in. She said, I ordered a tiara. And I was like, why? What? And she goes, because I'm royalty. That's what she said.
Oh,
and I go,
love that.
What? And she goes, I know my value, and this tiara is going to remind me of that.
Wow.
At 16. And she goes, plus I've always wanted to be a princess. So I just thought, this is amazing. But then 18 months later, she was auditioned and cast as Belle in Beauty and the Beast. And when she stood on center stage and took her bow with that very same tiara on her head, I knew that she was the healthiest version of herself. It had nothing to do with the weight on the scale.
And I was like, she knew her worth.
Yeah. And she knew she was made for more. She went on to perform on Broadway. Wow. She's now studying musical theater at university. And I think, gosh, like, I really, where would we have been if I hadn't worked to change my insight and my mindset about my value being in a number. They were talking about calories at 5 and 6 years old, and then she bought herself a tiara 10 years later.
That's such a full circle moment too. And that's like, we want our kids to succeed and we want them to see their value, but it starts in the home. It starts with us, which I think so many parents don't realize.
If we don't see our value, if we're tracking our food, if we say things kind of like, oh, I shouldn't have the cake. I shouldn't have it. Or I'm being bad. Or I'm cheating.
Right? I'm being bad. I say that all the time.
Well, think about that. Like, this is where it's not that there's something wrong with you. It's just the way that we've all been raised. And until we bring up our self-awareness around these little nuanced things that we tell ourselves, then we really struggle to be able to, live. I like to call it food freedom, like living a life of food freedom.
Right.
And really understanding our body, what it needs, and then also recognizing how powerful our mindsets are in actually living a life of purpose.
I think back to growing up, and that was when diet sodas were like in your face. The snack wells, remember all that?
The
like,
1 calorie or the 100-calorie little
the
things,
little packets. And that is what I grew up seeing. And and it's weird. It's like you have to do this shift, like in mindset, like you're talking about. And my big humbled moment was after I had my daughter. I gained like double the amount of weight that I did when I was pregnant with my son, and I didn't know and I didn't recognize myself, and it was very, very hard to shed the weight second time around, and all the pressure and just how awful that you feel, and you make yourself feel, and you torture yourself, in this awful cycle. But for what? I grew a baby, and I was, breastfeeding at the time too, and it's
well, there's this balance, and this is what I talk about as a nutritionist and a behavior specialist, right? That I want women to be lean and strong. It's not that, like some people say, you don't really care if we lose weight, and I'm like, wait. Weight gain is a symptom of something else.
Right.
Weight gain is a symptom of our health, our hormones. As a 50-year-old woman, I mean, trust me, I get all of that. And we also have to celebrate our bodies. We also have to recognize that our value is not in a number, but in order to be the healthiest version of ourselves, we actually have to show up for ourselves. It's like, why are we at the gym? Why are we focusing on our food and our eating? Is it because we are so driven by what other people think of us? Or is it because we are so driven at being the healthiest version of ourselves? I always say, like, we were not put on this earth to find the right diet, but we often live like we were, constantly searching for the perfect solution, when in all reality, if that's the goal, we will do things that are often deeply unhealthy. But if we are really focused on, like, I don't want my kids to have to take care of me when I am older. I want to make sure I can get up off the floor, and if I fall, and not break a hip. I want to be able to kick a soccer ball with my great-grandkids. I want to be able to literally continue to push, work, and just thrive, travel. And in order to do that, I'm going to show up at the gym. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to serve my body. And we look at food as often good or bad, or healthy or unhealthy. And then when you eat something bad, you feel bad. You feel guilty. And that's how we've been kind of conditioned to believe. But I like to look at it as food is not good or bad. Food serves our body and food serves our soul. And we need both. We just need to serve our body more than we serve our soul, because it's sort of like we can't have Christmas every day.
Right, exactly.
If we had Christmas every day, it wouldn't be fun anymore.
And
so we appreciate it when we do serve our soul. I went on a 2-week trip to Singapore and served my soul with no guilt. And as a person that is recovered from an eating disorder, I never thought I could ever eat to serve my soul without guilt. But when you shift your thinking and you realize there has to be a balance, and you understand the physiology of your body, it really isn't about calories in, calories out. And nobody talks about that. We just keep thinking eat less, move more. I train doctors, personal trainers, and they're all trained in caloric deprivation.
Wow.
But I always say, like, what thrives in a deficit? Like, name one thing that thrives in a deficit. Nothing.
Right.
And so we actually have to recognize that our body is built on a foundation of blood sugar. I always joke that the diet industry is all BS, but what the BS we really need is blood sugar. And understanding blood sugar stabilization means we actually have to eat in a way that allows ourselves to be fueled, where we're not having peaks and valleys. When you're really, really hungry, your blood sugar is super low. When you're really, really full, your blood sugar is super high. We need to be ready to eat, satisfied all the time. And just that is a game changer because you start listening to your body instead of counting and tracking.
Right, right. Or even looking at the clock to see, right, what time it is and what I should be doing.
Yep.
So I guess, how does the blood sugar stabilization and behavior change work?
Yeah.
Is that like, how do you know what and how to identify a good blood sugar level?
Well, this is what I always say, and this is what I think is super important, because before doing any nutritional approach, you should be able to say yes to 3 questions. 1, is it based in science, designed for my body to thrive? Diets are all based in science, but they're not designed for us to thrive.
Right.
Because, I mean, we do them over and over and over and over again, and the average woman that I work with has been dieting for 30 years and is heavier than she ever was. So it's clearly not working, right?
Yeah.
Or it's also not working because we're so obsessed, right? And we want to get off that obsession train. So is it based in science, designed for our body to thrive? Can you do it for the rest of your life? You and your body are like a relationship, just like any other relationship.
Right.
And so when you think about the relationship with your husband, I've been married 25 years, right? And so as you have a relationship with a spouse or a friend or a child, it's never perfect, but it does have to be consistent. And I think with dieting, we often think I have to be perfect.
Right.
I have to be perfect. And if you have to do something perfectly, then you got to really think about whether or not that's really what you should be doing. And so can you do it for the rest of your life? And your body really wants you not to be like throwing mud at the wall and doing all sorts of things. It wants a trusting relationship with you. And then 3, would you let your kids do it? And that's the big question. If we're doing something we would never let our kids do, first, physiologically, our bodies are the same, but also my kids started talking about calories at 5 and 6 years old. And if we don't want that for them, then we have to have a solution that allows for a yes to all 3 of those.
Right.
And focusing on blood sugar stabilization is really, really key. And the way that I do it, it's so easy. Like, it really is so easy. People talk about macro counting, and macros are proteins and fats and carbs. And yes, we need all of those. People are so afraid of carbs. But our body will balance its blood sugar in one of 2 ways. It will either balance it through food or on its own. And if you're not aware of how to do it with food, then your body is going to be on this natural blood sugar roller coaster. And it is why, the diabetes epidemic is absolutely incredible. But our blood sugar roller coaster started 20, 30 years before that. So as soon as we have symptoms like weight gain, cravings, fatigue, PCOS, thyroid issues, and then high cholesterol, high blood pressure, those are sure signs that your body has been on a blood sugar roller coaster. And your body's been trying to be your best friend and tries to balance it on its own. So if we deprive ourselves of food, especially for women in fasting, we just keep putting our body at a deficit. Our body has to keep adjusting, and our blood sugar gets all out of whack. But if we could do it with food and actually help our body kind of function in a way that it needs, then it changes everything. So we eat a protein, a fat, and a carb. We don't have to measure it. We eat until satisfied every 3 hours. PFC, we call it PFC 3. And it's so simple that my 5-year-old nephew can do it. I think we just don't know enough about food. But
Agreed.
we're a refuel as you go machine. And we're eating. And all food is protein, fats, and carbs. That's it. Even ice cream is just a fat and a carb. We don't have to give it so much weight and so much value. But when you understand carbs, yes, it will spike our blood sugar. But when we eat a protein and a fat alongside of it, it actually mitigates that blood sugar spike. And we're getting all 3 of the macronutrients together. It's so simple. And it alleviates all of the stuff that we've been doing, looking for the perfect meal plan. But the problem is, A, we know what to do, we just won't do it. I can teach people that all day long. It's so easy. They won't do it because life gets in the way. But also, one of the things I found with the thousands of people that I've worked with on this is that once they realize how simple it is and they start implementing, they actually have to unpack all the things that have been put to the side that they've ignored because they've been looking for the perfect solution to lose weight. And we actually have to get to the things that are really holding us back about our self-worth.
That makes so much sense. And that immediate gratification that we look for in this culture, right? It's easier to kind of chase after the thing that isn't going to work sometimes because we're trying to seek what those things are promising us, which is, as we were saying, you know, it's a quick fix. It's not something sustainable. And then, like you said, like unpacking a lot of the, you know, the psychological stuff, right, behind what we're trying to chase and why, and then looking at how we grew up and you know, any triggers there, underlying things. Like it's a lot, which is why I think, like you said, people run away from that because
Right.
it's messy and uncomfortable,
Right.
and they don't want to have to deal with that.
So we keep looking for like the thing that might be just tell me what to eat. And,
Right,
like, I
right.
can tell you what to eat all day long. It's not actually not going to help you to become truly the healthiest version of yourself.
Right.
It's funny, when my daughter turned 16, she wanted a certain type of car, a Subaru Crosstrek, and I joked, I'm like, I've never seen a Subaru Crosstrek before. And my husband was like, no, you've definitely seen one. And I'm like, I definitely have not. So he shows me a picture. And then, don't you know, that day I'm out driving, and what do I see everywhere? Subaru Crosstreks, right? And so I'd like to believe that everybody started driving that because I swore I had never seen one before. But that's what's so amazing about our brain. It filters out what we tell it to. So my brain saw that picture of the Subaru Crosstrek, and it was like, oh, we're doing that today? Okay, because we take in millions of pieces of information. And as a behavior specialist, this is one of the things that fascinates me about behavior, because we see this truth, right? But in all reality, it's a filter of what we tell ourselves is true. I call it truthiness. And we get so adamant about it. And, you know, I don't have time to work out. You know, life is so busy. I have the kids. I can't take care of myself, or I can't invest in myself because I have all these other things that I have to take care of. But when we tell ourselves that, then that becomes our truth.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things we do. When we are constantly focused on our weight, then it's amazing how we will just see things that reinforce the need to lose weight. And so I think about that brain filtering piece, and it's like, what do we tell ourselves? What's our self-talk? How are we checking ourselves? And recognizing this level of self-awareness around our truth is actually our perspective of the truth. And getting around either like-minded people or, I mean, morning time to me is like one of the most important things to just reset and realign the truthiness that kind of makes us believe certain things that aren't necessarily true.
Yeah, oh, I love that. And by the way, when you were listing off those things, I'm like, check, check, check.
Yeah.
I think I've always used that as an excuse at some point in my life.
Yeah.
So what is your power of 1% philosophy? Could you share that with us?
Yeah, so I go live every single morning on Instagram, and I do morning meeting
I love
with everybody.
that.
Yes. And I talk all about like 100 days of 1%. That's actually my philosophy when it comes to teaching people about their bodies and how to actually serve them, but also about our mindsets. Because if we can, I was an educator for so long, and I know that if we teach in little bits and pieces of information over time, it starts to stick, and everything builds upon everything else. But especially when it comes to learning something new, our brain likes familiar. Our brain does not like learning something new or doing something different. So it's the whole cycle of self-sabotage. You know, like if you're just frustrated with your body and you're just like, or anything, you decide to make a change, right? This happens all the time in the dieting world. I'm frustrated, I'm gonna make a change, I'm gonna go do something. And I start to feel good. I'm losing a little bit of weight, I'm going to the gym, I'm showing up for myself. I'm like, oh, I feel good. Your brain doesn't recognize feeling good. It just recognizes different. And it's like, okay, wait, this is different. This is unfamiliar. And the brain doesn't like unfamiliar. So you start to question some of the changes that you make. And you're like, oh, I don't know. That gym is a little far away from my house. Oh, I don't know. If I made my kids lunches in the morning, that would probably be a better use of my time than working out, right? These little changes start to sneak up on us. And then our brain wants to go comfortable. So you go back to your old ways. So if you've been searching for diets your whole life, and then you find, like when I see clients that come to work with me, and I'm like, this is it. Last first date with any nutritional approach again. It's so funny how we almost go back to still starting to search. So when we think about that, when it comes to the power of 1%, if we can be learning in little bits and pieces and raising our self-awareness, working on just cultivating one concept at a time, watering it, thinking about it, and moving little by little, our brain, we can start to trick our brain from thinking, oh, this is something new all at once. And we will always revert. The concept of self-sabotage is innate within all of us. But sometimes we just try so hard to do something fast because we're frustrated or motivated. And motivation is not a strategy. But 1% at a time can really build up over time.
And that's the thing, we all have to be really patient here. If we're going to make any major changes, we're not going to see those results overnight. But any kind of habit, you know, how many days does it take to form a habit?
There's so many different schools of thought on
Yeah.
this. But this is what I say, like, divorce yourself from the result.
Yeah.
I have no idea, like when we talk about, we don't do goal weights.
Wow.
Because we don't really have control over that. Let's be honest. We really don't.
No, it's true.
It's an outcome goal. We have control over our behaviors, how we show up every day. And will those get to an outcome? Sure. But I don't know how fast it's going to take. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, actually talks about a frozen ice cube in a room. And let's pretend an ice cube's in a 20-degree room, right? And you turn up the temperature a couple degrees. Well, it could be at 24, 25, and that ice cube is still frozen. 26, 27, 28 degrees. You've been turning up the volume a little bit each time, but it's still frozen. And then you get to 31, 32, and then at 33 degrees, it starts to melt maybe a little bit, but it wasn't because of that 1 degree before. It was because of all those degrees that led up to that. And I've had people say, well, how long will it take to melt my ice cube? And I'm like, see, we're looking at the wrong thing. We're looking at the fact that we're making progress every single day. I want to see success in every day, not in one day.
Right.
And so if we divorce ourselves from the result of how long will it take for my ice cube to melt and just realize I am showing up for myself every day, then what else are you going to do?
Wow.
Like, what else are you going to do? Just stop?
Right.
Right? Like, and that's why the why has to be so big. Because if our why is on a number on a scale and it's a Monday night and you're stressed out and there's chocolate cake on the counter, you're going to be like, screw it. I'm not going to lose 40 pounds by tomorrow. So I'm just going to eat the cake tonight.
I'll restart next Monday.
It's always about the next Monday. So we've got to divorce ourselves from the goal and say, why am I showing up for myself? Why am I committing to myself?
Right.
And loving ourselves too much not to show up. And that's what I started doing. Once my kids really woke me up, I realized what I've been doing isn't working. And I have to do something different in order to get something different. And it's all about consistency. And when you start looking at things differently, you'll start showing up differently and then more consistently. And then I didn't even care about the number on the scale anymore.
Right.
But over, the last 10, 12 years, at 50 years old, I'm in way better shape than I was when I was in my 30s. And so it adds up.
Right.
But
and it's never too late to make that start, even if they're right. I mean,
never. Our bodies are so incredible. It's like an elastic band that stretches. It wants to go back to its original form. And our bodies are like that. If we can just give it a little bit of love and attention for the right reasons, it's amazing how much progress we make.
Oh my gosh, Carrie, I feel like I just had a pep talk from a really good friend. I mean, and this is the conversation I think I really wanted to make sure to get out there, you know, for so many women in particular. I mean, obviously men as well, but for any of the moms in particular who are listening, who have made those excuses like I have, I'm guilty of it. It's, you know, we got to love our bodies and love on ourselves in order to love on our children and course correct the path that society has kind of figured out for us, you know? We got to jump off that.
We can't teach what we don't know. And we can want for our kids all we want, but really only action creates change. And if we don't do it, they're never going to learn how to do it. Absolutely. And as somebody that's 19 and 20-year-old now, and I see them out in the real world, it's like it went by in a flash. So we have to make this one of the most urgent things that we do.
Got to harness this time right
Yes.
now. Carrie, how can we get a hold of you and learn more about what you do?
Well, I have a website, carrielupoli.com, and I have lots of information on there. But I go live every morning on Instagram.
That's awesome.
So join me for my lives because I love to be able to inspire, to help others understand just how they can take a hold of their life and reset every single day. I mean, if you're showing up every day for yourself in the morning, you can't ever get that far off track.
Right, absolutely. To wake up and start the day off like that. And what's your Instagram handle?
It's at Carrie_Lupoli, Lupoli.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carrie. And we're going to have you back on because we can talk about a myriad of things.
Oh my gosh.
You're an
Yes,
expert.
anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. And thank you so much for joining us on Mommyhood Unscripted. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen, and that'll take you to our archive of tons of episodes. And you can also share and find us anytime on WFSB Plus and on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to your podcasts. And remember, Mama, you're doing great.